All right, here's a little screencast, the notes that you're asked to take for class today on what makes a bird a bird. So, what characteristics do all birds have? Well, outwardly we notice the feathers, the fact that they have a beak with no teeth. But if you're curious internally, what makes them kind of unique, warm-blooded like us, four-chambered heart like us, produce hard-shelled eggs, got wings and legs, two legs. So those are the basics, but the feathers and beak with no teeth are the key defining characteristics. When you're out birding, what are some things to be noteworthy of or think about? So first things first, pay attention to the shape. Families of birds have different shapes. So if you're looking at waterfowl, you're looking for maybe a longer neck and a flattened beak, bigger body, versus a songbird, smaller body, smaller legs, shorter neck, smaller beak. So those bird shape is something that we can pay attention to. How big is it? And usually it's relative size to something else that we're familiar with. You don't have to measure its centimeters in length or anything like that, but you can estimate based on bird sizes that you know, like a sparrow is a pretty small bird. A robin is a not quite medium-sized bird. Crows and big, large birds like sandhill cranes or great blue herons. So you're comparing bird size based on bird that you are familiar with. The most important features to pay attention to would be what we call field marks, and those would be distinct characteristics that pop out at you when you look at it. So do they have a little crest on their head? Do they have a specific color that's very distinct on one part of their body or maybe their whole body? We call any distinct feature that is very obvious about a bird, call that a field mark. And when you're looking at things that are similar, like sparrows, you might have to look really closely at field marks like a little slash of white across the eye or something like that. What habitat are they in? So the type of habitat they are in oftentimes narrows down your search on what bird you think it is, whether it's forest, open field, marsh, lake, etc. And then what are they doing? What is their behavior? Are they feeding, courting, territorial displaying? Singing can sometimes be help because you can use the Merlin Bird ID app to help you narrow down the options by what you're hearing. And learning to associate what you visually see with the songs you hear can make it a little easier to remember birds if you have two ways of recognizing them instead of one. Time of day matters. So birds are most active in the early morning and a few hours before dusk. So if you really want to see the most bird activity, those are the times to be out looking for them. When we position ourselves to look at birds, we would like to have the sun behind us so that it's illuminating the birds that you're looking at and it's a little easier to see the field marks. So think about trying not to look into the sun, but have the sun behind you, or at least coming across from an angle to one side or the other, so that the bird you're looking at is illuminated by that sun and not a silhouette. Binoculars are really helpful and are going to be a useful tool if you have them or can use them in class to, again, look closely at some field marks and observe their behavior from a little further away, because birds tend to not like us right close to them. So if we can get a look at them from further away, the binoculars are a way to do that. and observe them doing their normal thing instead of being wary of us. Field guide is helpful, and we have the Merlin Bird ID, and so that's basically a field tip or field guide on your phone. And so having that is useful. You can use the old school field guides, the little books, if you would like, but looking it up and figuring out what it is right away, or describing it and then try to look it up later, but it can be really helpful. So the Cornell Lab of Ornithology developed a program called eBird. eBird allows you to keep track of the birds that you see using the Merlin Bird ID app, and collects that data and uses it for real research. And so you can contribute to citizen science and knowledge about birds and bird activity by sharing your data. But this is where the Merlin Bird ID app came from. So if you can download this app to your phone, it's free, and download the Midwest Bird package so that you have less storage taken up on your phone. That's ideal. When you're using the Bird ID app, it's going to record where you are or where you saw the bird. So it's going to be either you see it now and use your current location, or you pick a spot where you saw it if it was some other time. When did you see it? So if it's, again, something you're observing today, you hit the date that pops up. Otherwise, you can adjust it accordingly. And then, morphologically speaking, how big was the bird? Make a decision, hit next. What were its main colors? You can pick up to 3 that you see in the bird. Hit next, and decide what the bird was doing. Eating at the feeder, swimming or wading, on the ground, in trees or bushes, on a fence or wire, soaring or flying. Hit next, and it will pop up a list of options, and then you can compare the pictures that they show with what you were observing. And then you can learn a little bit more about that bird by clicking on it. And you can choose to say, yes, this is my bird, and then it will record that. So there's the video posted, and I want everyone to know the parts of a microscope, like the center hinge, the diopter for adjusting for your 2 strengths of eyes, the objective lenses, and the eyepieces, which also have eye cups to adjust for people with glasses or without glasses. So the eye cups go out for people without glasses, and the eye cups go in or closer to the frame for people with glasses to adjust the distance of the eyepiece lens to your eye and what you're seeing. So make sure you know the parts of the microscope and how to use it. Watch the video, and you'll get a chance to practice in class sometime next week.